Chanel.
It's Chanel. That's pretty much all you need to know. It's Chanel. Yeah.
We both love Chanel.
Kurt Cobain's hologram.
Who's Kurt Cobain?
I can get an exclusive with Frances Bean's original nanny.
She was made famous by a magazine article before she could hold up her own head.
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't have a dad. That's horrible, and I wouldn't wish that upon anybody. But I also wouldn't change the dynamic of anything in my life because it's informed the person I am, and I really like the person I am.
Her custody was seized by LA Child Services when she was 2 weeks old, and she grew up to inherit one of the most lucrative dead rock star estates on Earth, and then told Rolling Stone she doesn't really like Nirvana that much. Frances Bean Cobain has been pried apart in tabloids since birth.
That's part of the contract you sign in being an artist, is that you send it off and people do with it what they will.
The heroin scandal baby, the restraining order teenager, the trust fund heiress who lost her father's most sacred guitar in a divorce. And yet almost nobody talks about the strangest thing about her, which is how she didn't become the thing the world built her to be. If you only have 30 seconds, here's the bottom line of this video. Frances Bean Cobain didn't get famous. She was, obviously, born famous. She was a headline before she had a name, a custody case before she had teeth, the blonde baby on her family's early 90s iconography. Her secret isn't our very usual here reinvention. So is it just nepotism then? Because she turned that inherited fame into a kind of art form. You know, by painting under a fake name, marrying quietly, treating anonymity as the ultimate luxury good. But if you'd like a bit more of an explanation, just follow me. Welcome. I'm Kira, and this is your beauty blueprint. I've spent a whole week researching, watching, and editing all things Frances Bean Cobain to bring to you her very essence and share the best of my findings. And here's the part that got under my skin, the thing I couldn't stop thinking about. She's arguably the most photographed heiress of her generation who has done almost nothing to be photographed. No reality show, no perfume line, a near silent Instagram, a pseudonym on her paintings, a wedding she didn't even announce. She is famous the way weather is famous. She just happens, and we all look up. So what does a woman do with a face that was public property before it was ever hers? And stick around, because by the end of this video, I'll even serve as a quick breakdown of what we can maybe even learn from Frances Bean Cobain's unique style universe. Speaking of which, one small thing before we begin, because you asked and I delivered. I designed a Frances Bean Cobain inspired t-shirt just for us, and it is exactly the kind of rebel thing you can wear to brunch while everyone wonders why you look so cool. Link on your screen now and down below while they last. So get comfortable. If you want to drink like Frances might these days, just pour yourself something sober and a little witchy. An iced strawberry milk in honor of the strawberry Nesquik her father loved, a very black coffee, or, if you're feeling cheeky, a fizzy glass of Alka-Seltzer, a wink at the Twitter handle she once hid behind. Settle in. Here's a tiny backstory. Frances Bean Cobain was born on August 18th, 1992, at Cedars-Sinai in Los Angeles, the only child of Kurt Cobain of Nirvana and Courtney Love of Hole. She is a Leo, surprise surprise. Her sun sitting at roughly 25 degrees of the sign, the fixed fire placement of natural performers and reluctant royalty, with her moon in combative, self-protective Aries, her Mercury also in Leo, her Venus in careful, discerning Virgo, and her Mars in restless Gemini. And she is a Virgo rising, so she'd present to the world as observant, discerning, and meticulous. Someone who processes things analytically before showing her hand. It can also point to a self-critical streak and a strong instinct for control or curation, especially over how she's perceived. So it reads like the chart of someone built to be looked at, who would much rather be the one doing the looking. She wants our attention, but she also wants to be the one deciding on the rules. By the way, Kurt, the story goes, nicknamed her Bean because she looked like a kidney bean on the ultrasound. Well, so the scandal came before she did. In September 1992, Vanity Fair ran Lynn Hirschberg's profile of Courtney Love titled Strange Love, which suggested Love had used heroin while pregnant. When the issue hit newsstands, Los Angeles Child Services intervened, and the newborn Frances was temporarily removed from her parents' custody, while an investigation ran. Love has given shifting accounts over the decades. In the 2015 documentary Montage of Heck, she finally said on camera, "I used it once, then stopped. I knew she would be fine." Whatever the precise truth, the effect was permanent. Frances Bean was a public controversy before she was a person. Her mother struck back at the time by recording a bootleg called Bring Me the Head of Lynn Hirschberg, which, I must admit, is pretty funny. But the damage, enormous legal fees, years of hostile public opinion, was already done, and it was done in the baby's name. Then, in April 1994, poor Kurt did you know what. Frances was not yet 2, around 18 months old by her own account, sadly with no living memory of him at all. She would grow up shuttled between her grandmother Wendy O'Connor, Kurt's family, and a mother battling addiction. In 2003, when Frances was 11, Love temporarily lost custody after a drug arrest, and Frances was placed with grandmother Wendy. Then, in December 2009, at 17, Frances was placed under the legal guardianship of Wendy O'Connor and Kurt's sister, Kimberly Dawn Cobain, and a judge granted a restraining order barring Love from contact. In a sealed 2009 deposition later reported by the press, the teenage Frances described her mother's dependence on pills in unsparing clinical detail. So yeah, a 17-year-old testifying in court against her own mother, the woman the world already blamed for everything. That's just rough by anyone's standards. And then, the money is its own strange character in this story. Kurt died without a will, so his estate passed under Washington intestacy law. Frances inherited 37% of it on her 18th birthday in 2010, and by her 30th birthday in 2022, she had inherited the full estate, an estate CNBC valued in 2014 at $450 million, and described as one that only continues to grow. Also in 2010, Love sold her the rights to Kurt's name and likeness, funded by almost $3 million loan from Frances's own trust, which is how Frances came to control the publicity rights to her father's image through the entity End of Music. During her divorce, a yearly income and expense declaration obtained by the blast showed she was making $95,496 a month from those publicity rights, plus $6,784 a month in dividends. And it was against roughly $200,000 in monthly expenses and a total net worth, then estimated at $11 million. And yet she has been startlingly honest about how hollow the inheritance feels. "My relationship to money is different because I didn't earn it," she said on RuPaul's What's the Tea podcast in 2019. "It's almost like this big, giant loan that I'll never get rid of. It feels like money from somebody that I've never met, let alone earned myself. Here's a little something I need you to just think about for a second. Imagine every dollar you have arriving as a reminder of a father you can't remember, from a public that feels it owns him. Would that feel like security? Or something much more unsettling instead?" We'll come back to this question, actually. Now, the art, because this is where she gets fascinating. In July 2010, at 17, Frances staged her first solo exhibition. But she didn't do it as Frances Bean Cobain. She did it under the pseudonym Fiddle Tim at La Luz de Jesus, the Los Angeles lowbrow gallery that has long been a serious rung on the fine art ladder. The show was titled Scumfuck, and its centerpiece was a bloody, brooding portrait of the punk provocateur Gigi Allen. The gallery bio listed Fiddle Tim's inspirations, deadpan, as Al Columbia, Frank Kozik, and Satan. As Refinery29 reported, all 8 pieces sold, priced between $250 and $400. When Interview magazine asked what her mother thought of the work, she cut them off. It was, she said, irrelevant to the work. For the child of 2 of the most notorious artists of the era, the most rewarding rebellion was actually anonymity. And that was it. Just her choosing to sell her first art under a name nobody could Google. Her modeling followed the same logic, rare, curated, and only on her terms. She wore Kurt's brown cardigan and pajama pants for an Elle UK shoot in 2006 about the children of rock stars. "I wore his pajamas because he got married in them to my mom in 1992 in Hawaii, so I thought they would be cute if I wore them. He was too lazy to put on a tux, so he got married in pajamas," she said. She posed as Evita for Harper's Bazaar in 2008. In 2011, she sat for Hedi Slimane's stark rock diary black and whites during his Saint Laurent era, the images that first announced to the fashion world that the grunge baby is now a cool girl. And in 2017, she became the face of Marc Jacobs' spring-summer campaign, shot by David Sims, a job she framed as a rare exception, telling Vogue, "I don't think I'll be modeling for anybody else for a very long time. I wouldn't have done it with anyone other than Marc, whom she praised as an underdog for the masses." In 2015, she stepped fully into the role of legacy keeper, executive producing Brett Morgen's documentary Kurt Cobain, Montage of Heck, which earned her a Primetime Emmy nomination. And she used the press tour to say the quiet part out loud, maybe even too loud. "I don't really like Nirvana that much," she told Rolling Stone's David Freak. "Sorry, promotional people, Universal. I'm more into Mercury Rev, Oasis, Brian Jonestown Massacre. The grunge scene is not what I'm interested in." She made a razor-sharp point about the machinery of martyrdom, too. He inspired people to put him on a pedestal, to become Saint Kurt. He became even bigger after he died than he was when he was alive. Which now brings us to the moment she became, briefly, the internet's conscience. In a Guardian profile published June 12, 2014, Lana Del Rey said of Kurt Cobain, "I wish I was dead already. I don't want to have to keep doing this, but I am." Frances responded on Twitter, "The death of young musicians isn't something to romanticize. I'll never know my father because he died young, and it becomes a desirable feat because people like you think it's cool. Well, it's fucking not. Embrace life because you only get one life." She later clarified she had no animosity toward Lana, but the message landed like a slap, and that's precisely because she, of all people alive, had the big loud right to say it. Her own life had its private wreckage, as you might imagine. She married the musician Isaiah Silva of the Eries in 2014 and filed for divorce already in 2016. The split curdled into a battle over Kurt's 1959 Martin D18E, the guitar he played at Nirvana's 1993 MTV Unplugged, one of only a few hundred ever made. It's hardware modified so a left-handed player could turn it upside down. Silva claimed she had given it to him as a wedding gift. In 2018, the court awarded the guitar to Silva. Frances, according to the reporting, decided she would rather be free of him than fight. She kept the house, paid no spousal support, and let the heirloom go. Reasoning, in part, that she had been barely a year old when her father died and had no memories tied to the instrument anyway. Courtney would later get tangled in an even uglier chapter, with Silva alleging in a civil lawsuit a plot to retrieve the guitar, claims Courtney Love flatly denied. And here's the turn. In February 2018, Frances quietly revealed she was 2 years sober, marking a sober birthday she'd first reached in 2016. The fact that I'm sober isn't really public knowledge, decidedly and deliberately. Self-destruction and toxic consumption and deliverance from pain is a lot easier to adhere to. Undeniably, becoming present is the best decision I have ever made. How we treat our bodies directly correlates to how we treat our souls. It's all interconnected. It has to be. She later described a frightening incident on a plane that brought her closer in proximity to death and, paradoxically, catapulted her toward what she called radical gratitude. Watching her mother's very public struggles, she had learned to keep her own private, and then chose to share it anyway, to be, in her words, informative, even helpful to other people. Here's a little fun fact. She once said, "Man, I feel like a 108-year-old monk sometimes. I feel like I have a deep spiritual understanding that most people probably don't." I'll tell you at the end exactly how she says she got that understanding, and it's not what the wellness influencers are selling. Well, we will get there though. The love story that follows is almost defiantly wholesome. Around 2021, she began dating Riley Hawk, professional skateboarder, musician in the band Warish, and son of Tony Hawk. Kind of a fellow Nepo baby, I suppose. Might have been a comforting thing to do. On October 7th, 2023, they married in LA in what people called an intimate, Victorian-inspired ceremony, officiated by REM's Michael Stipe, who is Frances's godfather. Her godmother, for the record, is Drew Barrymore. I think I might do a video on her. And here I have to gently correct a rumor that floats around online. The officiant was Michael Stipe, not Michael Bublé, an easy mix-up, but Stipe even is a family piece. She wore a Claire Pettibone Kristen gown, a design the house describes as Victorian meets 1920s, with a sweetheart neckline, capped sleeves, rich guipure lace, and heart-shaped embellishments trailing down a sheer illusion back into a heart-shaped train. The heart-shaped detail, for a woman whose father wrote heart-shaped box, feels like a tiny little piece of poetry. In September 2024, they welcomed a son, Ronan Walker Cobain Hawk. She soundtracked the black and white announcement with John Lennon's Beautiful Boy. Tony Hawk commented, "My favorite grandson." On the 2nd anniversary, she wrote that she loved Riley deep in her bones. Her relationship with Courtney has thawed into something the tabloids call an era of balance. "When my mom is on her right and healthy path, she is one of the most fulfilling, beautiful, intelligent and kind people I ever met," Frances said in 2019. They appeared together at Liberatum's Women in Creativity event in London in 2016, and repeatedly on red carpets since, both drifting toward the same witchy, dark-lipped, goth romantic register. And on the 30th anniversary of Kurt's death, Frances published perhaps her most beautiful piece yet. "I wish I could have known my dad. I wish I knew the cadence of his voice, how he liked his coffee, or the way it felt to be tucked in after a bedtime story. He gifted me a lesson in death that can only come through the lived experience of losing someone." Now, just a quick little pause, if you don't mind terribly. If this video is your kind of thing, please do me a tiny favor and like and subscribe if you haven't, because it really helps this channel big time. I'm trying to make this be enough to pay my rent, so I don't have to get distracted with other jobs. It's getting there, and seriously, your help would stay in my heart forever. Also, do tell me whom you'd like me to decode next. I always read everything. And if you want to give and receive more, consider becoming a channel member. Members get our members-only podcast episodes, special emojis and badges, next to your name in the comments, and early access to every video before it goes public. To those of you who are already members, thank you. You are so goddamn cool. Oh, and naturally I designed a Frances Bean inspired t-shirt just for this video's launch. The link's right here if you want one. So, what does Frances actually represent? Let me put on my Camille Paglia hat for a moment. Camille argued that celebrity is the modern West's surviving pagan religion, that we never really killed the old cults of Dionysus and the dying and rising god, we just moved them to the record charts. A beautiful young rock star who dies at 27 isn't only a tragedy in this framework. He's a sacrifice, a burnt offering, the culture half demands, and then giddily worships forever. Kurt became, in Frances's own words, Saint Kurt. And in a pagan cult of the dead god, what is the child of the god? A living relic. A reliquary with a pulse. We look at Frances's face, and let's admit it, we are really scanning it for his hands in hers, which even her grandmother Wendy used to press to her cheeks, breathing them in and whispering, "You have his hands." Camille Paglia was also obsessed with the idea that persona, the mask, the constructed self, is the great human art form, the thing that lifts us out of raw nature. And here is what's pretty radical about Frances. Her persona is also a refusal of being a persona per se. In the age of the Kardashian, of the monetized self, of the influencer who performs intimacy for a living, Frances Bean built her identity around the opposite. The pseudonym, the undercover, the sobriety she kept, in her own words, decidedly and deliberately private. She has called her own brand authenticity, and by that she means the freedom to remove herself from anyone she doesn't like, because pretending, she says, is not furthering my spiritual education. Paglia would recognize this instantly. The withholding is the best seduction too. The one mask she wears is the one marked no mask. And so what is unique to Frances, and Frances alone? She is the rare heir who owns the literal machinery of her own myth. She controls the publicity rights to the dead god's image. She gets to decide whether Kurt sells sneakers. She calls herself famous by default, and, more wickedly, the OG Blue Ivy. And she has said that people should wait until she's done something valid with her life before they decide who she is. Her opinions are heresies against her own church. She prefers Oasis to Nirvana. She thinks her mother should never have published Kurt's private journals. "I can't imagine being dead and having people know my intimate thoughts," she said, calling it an invasion of privacy. She finds the romance of early death obscene. Well, now, I guess let's just do the beauty and style breakdown, because you came for a blueprint and I intend to deliver one even here. Frances's look is kind of like a conversation between two ghosts. The grunge she was born into, and the gothic romantic she chose. She is pretty clear herself about the first one. She told NME that grunge wasn't a fashion decision. It was an I don't have any money, I have no other choice type of decision, and that having it shoved down your throat every day for decades simply wore her out. So she took it and she refined it. The signature is pale skin, dark hair, a red or plum lip, vintage silhouettes with a corseted Victorian tilt, and a body map of those meaningful to her tattoos, lyrics from Jeff Buckley's Grace running down the insides of her arms, a portrait of the gay icon and humorist Quentin Crisp on her shoulder, a French phrase that translates loosely to "art is the solution to chaos" across her back, a delicate willow tree and a tiny seahorse skeleton by the celebrity tattooist Dr. Wu, and a single K on her chest for her father that deliberately mirrors one Courtney wears. Her ink is not decoration, you know, it's more like a diary. Her beauty philosophy, such as she shared it, skews playful and gloriously unbothered. At 15 she told Harper's Bazaar, "I'm very lucky because my eyes work with almost any hair color. Thanks for the genetics, parents." In that same profile, she called herself a shoe junkie, think Carrie Bradshaw times 20, and named the burlesque star Dita Von Teese as an aesthetic North Star, a very dark, gothic, beautiful burlesque doll. By the way, please don't miss out on my Dita video, it was super interesting. And also a fair warning for the recreators among us, she has never handed out a 10-step skincare routine or a shelf of holy grail products. The tip, honestly, is the attitude. Choose for yourself, consciously, and commit to that for life. If you want one real product that lives squarely in her universe, reach for a proper blue-red satin lipstick, something like NARS Audacious lipstick in Rita, a pigment-dense, slightly retro red that reads gothic on pale skin and vintage glamour on warmer skin. It sits in exactly the muted berry to true red register she wore down the aisle and across a decade of carpets. Pair it with hair left in loose, undone waves, and you've got the basics of the look. But here's the actual blueprint. And yes, of course, it's the opposite of copy her face. Frances's entire life is against imitation. So don't recreate Frances Bean Cobain. Just do what she did. Take the thing you inherited, your family's taste, your hometown's uniform, the look people already expect of you, and re-audit it, without sentiment. Keep the 1 or 2 pieces that are really yours, and just discard the rest. Sign your work with your own name, one you chose for yourself. Let your signature be a rejection as much as a statement. That is how a person born as somebody else's symbol becomes, finally, herself. As we wrap, here's her advice to us, in her own words, and it's better than anything I could write, on gratitude, learned the hardest possible way, her hope, entering her 30s, to stay soft no matter how hardening the world can feel. And about that deep spiritual understanding, I promised. In her case, it comes from an early onset exposure to death, and being very accepting of that. The grim, unasked-for gift of losing someone before you can even remember them, which taught her, as she put it, that there's no greater motivation for leaning into loving awareness than knowing everything ends. We keep asking whether Frances Bean Cobain will ever become someone, as if being the reliquary of a dead god isn't already among the most interesting things a person can do with a life. I've queued up the next chapter for you here. I'll see you soon. Love, Kira. Now go create your own blueprint.